Hello, I'm Edith Espinola, and I am excited to talk to you today about the timeline of an escrow. So, I've created this graphic that hopefully makes the process easy for you to understand. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask me anytime throughout the process of us working together. So the gray bar here is the actual timeline of an escrow. So that's going to take us from the beginning of the process where we're doing home search all the way to the end where escrow closes and you get your keys. So in the beginning, we're being educated on the market. You're learning what's all involved in writing an offer. You're learning what that escrow looks like. And, there's just a lot of stuff to look at. Like you're going to look at homes and you're going to determine what you like, what you don't like until we can finally fine tune what your ideal home is. And we can look specifically for that home and basically manifest the home of your dreams. So we're going to get as close as possible to what it is that you are looking for so that when you find the one that gives you the same emotion, that gives you the same energy, that makes you feel like this is the home I could live in and you've fallen in love with it, you will know, excuse me, you will know that that's the one. And because you know that's the one, you'll be motivated to do what it is that you need to do to get your offer accepted. If if you haven't fallen in love with the home, then I encourage you to not write an offer because remember, your home is where you live your life. It's very important that your home, the form, follows the function of your lifestyle. So if it does, if you're fortunate enough to find it right away, then trust that feeling. And if it takes you a little bit longer, then just trust that the home that you are looking for is also waiting for you. Okay. So now let's say that, you found your dream home, you're so excited, you've fallen in love with it, you were motivated to do what it was that you needed to do. And depending on the market, that could go over asking price, but we'll get to that at another conversation. So offer is accepted, and that is considered day zero. The contract at certain times will refer to a certain date of the contract. And the date that's being referenced is the date that the contract was prepared. So let's say, for example, your contract was prepared on April 10th, but it wasn't accepted until April 11th. So April 10th is the date of the contract, April 11th is day zero. Everything from here on out it starts with day zero. And typical escrows usually last anywhere between 21 to 30 days, depending on the terms that we've agreed on with the seller and how fast your lender can move in funding the loan. The first contract obligation that we need to meet is the deposit of your earnest money. So that is 3% earnest money deposit. And, in the contract, it has a flexibility of us delivering it up to within 3 days. However, with the speed and the competition that goes on in today's current market, I recommend, and it's become common practice, that the 3% earnest money is deposited with the title company within 24 hours. Now, the title company is like, Switzerland. That is the neutral organization that's going to make sure that the buyer and the seller follow the terms of the contract and they handle the money. So this 3% earnest money deposit will go to the title company and it will go towards your closing costs. The reason this 3% earnest money deposit is important is there is a clause in the contract that says if the buyer breaches the terms of the contract, then they are liable to give up liquidated damages to the seller. and the liquidated damages are up to 3% of your earnest money deposit, or is up to 3% of the purchase price, which equals your earnest money deposit, which is why it's called earnest money, because as the buyer, you're saying, here's my money. If I am in breach of contract, you already have this money, but what I'm telling you is, I really want this contract to close. So I'm just going to do my due diligence during the contingency period to make sure that everything is what I think it is. Now, please bear in mind that because the market activity is the way that it is right now, the contingencies are something very fluid right now. And, we'll talk in depth about that when it's just, when I'm sitting with you talking about what the terms of your particular contract is. But traditionally, contingencies include property inspections, which can be anywhere from 10 to 14 days contingency. During this time, you review everything that has to do with the property, which means, the inspector reports, the disclosures that the sellers complete, the title report, the natural hazard disclosure that tells you what the land is, like if there's been, are you in a landscape, uh, uh, a flood zone, a fire zone, has there been any contamination of the soil? If this is a condominium or a townhome that's in a community, you review the HOA docs. These all are under property inspection. The next contingency is the appraisal contingency and the loan contingency. And those two usually go together. And again, it depends on how quickly things are moving with the bank. The busier they are, the longer the contingency period is. However, our goal is to get you pre-approved and underwritten so you don't have to have a loan contingency. What that means is you have gone through the entire loan approval process, and the bank knows and can confirm that they're going to loan you the money to fulfill your loan obligation on the contract. Now, the loan is dependent upon the appraisal, right? So, like, let's say you have a typical 20% down, and the bank is going to loan 80%. So you have an 80-20 loan. And the appraisal is important because the appraiser goes out to the property, looks at the comps in the area, and determines if the contract price is the actual value that they see in the property. So let's say you write an offer for 500,000. You need to have the appraisal come in at 500,000 in order for the bank to give you a loan at 80%. If the appraisal comes in a little low, like let's say 490,000, then they're only going to loan you 80% of 490, and then you need to bring in the cash to cover the rest. So it would be 10,000 plus whatever that little minimum amount is that covers, the difference of 80% in 490 to 500,000. If your appraisal comes in higher than your purchase price, which is really rare, right? But if it does, and I have been known to have that happen for my clients, then you've just made a little bit of equity before you even close escrow. So if you wrote the contract for 500, the appraised value is 520, congratulations, you have $20,000 in equity right away. Now, normally it's about 14 days for the appraisal and the loan contingency period. And so, we would put that into the contract. Again, contingencies are very individual, especially in this market. And when we write up your offer, we'll go into more detail of whether or not that's a good strategic move to include that or to waive the contingencies. So the reason contingencies are important is because this allows you the opportunity to do your due diligence to make sure that everything is as it should be and that the bank is definitely going to loan you the money. Now, a lot of times, what happens is if we don't have, I apologize. Okay, so what we do during that time is your due diligence. Now, in the blue box here, I have down several different inspections. Ideally, the sellers have already done inspections, but as the buyer, I will always recommend that you do the first two, which I put into bold, the property inspection and the termite inspection. Because I trust that my inspectors are very thorough, and they will find anything that could be potentially, something that you would want to know about the property. When I do my own listings and I have my inspectors do their inspection, there has never been a case where another inspector has come in and found something that wasn't already disclosed in our inspection report. And that's a really good position to be in. And as the buyer, I want to make sure that you know everything. And if we find something that wasn't disclosed on the seller's inspection report, then that just leaves this up for discussion and, maybe negotiation. It really just depends on what it is. Now, the roof, chimney, pool, and foundation inspection, those aren't normally automatically decided that you're going to get it. Those are determined by the property inspector. If the property inspector says, hey, the chimney needs to have a specialist look at it, then we'll go ahead and bring in a chimney inspection, an inspector to do the report. Now, if for some reason you decide that you do not want to do the property inspection or the termite inspection, I will request that you sign a waiver. It's a California Association of Realtors document, a waiver that says that you're going against broker advice and you are waiving the right to do your own inspections. To me, it's that important. Okay, so now let's say that it's contingency removal day and you remove your contingencies. So the reason that this is important is if you do your due diligence and you decide not to remove your contingencies, but to cancel the contract, you receive your 3% earnest money deposit back. If you remove contingencies and afterwards you decide that you don't want to go through with the purchase, then the seller can keep up to 3% earnest money deposit. So if that happens, then there's a little bit of negotiation that goes on, but they can keep up to the 3%. And like I had said previously, that's why it's called earnest money, is because you're showing that you're being earnest about wanting to move forward. Okay, so now contingencies are removed, you're moving forward, you're preparing, you're packing, you're planning, you know that you're going to move into the property. The next things to do would be to sign off on your loan documents. Now, we will have a mobile notary be with you so that you can sign your loan documents. I like to be with you at that time if I could, depending on what's going on, right? I would like to be with you. You sign your loan documents and it goes to the bank. You do a walkthrough on the property to make sure that it looks like it did when you first bought it. This would mean that if there's a pool, the pool is still clean. If, the lawns would be mowed, there are no major gaping holes in the walls. It basically looks like what it did when you bought it, minus the staging. It's usually a really fun day, and it's just like, oh, the final time you get to see it before you're moving your stuff in. So then on day, like, maybe day 29 or a couple of days or the next day, depending on how fast we're moving. Your loan gets funded by the bank, and you bring in your remaining closing funds so that all the money that is due the seller is in the title company. And the very next day, it's called close of escrow, and the new title goes on record with the county. And so I get the phone call that says we're on title, and or we're on record, right? We're on record. So then I get to call you and tell you that you are officially the owners of the new property, and congratulations, escrow is closed, and I will present you your keys. It's a very exciting day. It's one of my favorite things about being an agent, and I look forward to sharing that day with you soon. If you have any questions, let me know. This is the escrow timeline. Have a beautiful day.